Winter finally arrived, and everything outside is covered in snow. And then I had this crazy idea. What if I could drive through the snow, not from here, but from the driver's seat? So today I'm turning my 1/8 scale Land Rover Defender into an FPV vehicle. And then we're going to drive it like a real off-roader. Before going any further, let me quickly explain how this little setup actually works. This is a standard RC car. It has an electric motor that drives the wheels and a steering servo that controls the direction of the front wheels. Both the motor and the steering are controlled wirelessly using this RC transmitter. When I move the trigger, it controls the throttle, forward or reverse. And when I turn the wheel on the transmitter, it controls the steering of the car. But the interesting part is the FPV system. This small camera captures the video in real time and sends it to the Walksnail VTX. The VTX then transmits the video wirelessly to the FPV goggles I'm wearing. Which means I can see exactly what the car sees and drive it as if I were sitting inside it. I love building things, or at least trying to, until my garage slowly turns into a pile of wires, circuit boards, and RC toys. And sometimes I break things. And occasionally the magic smoke escapes. Like most people, we grow up loving toys. Some of us, maybe a bit more than others. And when we become adults, we don't really stop playing. We just start buying much more expensive toys. When we were kids, if something broke, we glued it back together and kept going. One of the hobbies I never really grew out of was RC airplanes. They are incredibly fun, but also incredibly expensive when they crash. And even if I crash an RC airplane and smash it into pieces, I rebuild it and start over. But let's get back to our RC cars. So I started thinking, how could I mount this Walksnail VTX on this Land Rover and turn it into an FPV vehicle? The problem was, it was snowing outside, so I needed a way to protect the electronics from water. So I headed to the workbench and got to work. Of course, this whole thing involved the usual ingredients: some soldering, a bit of hot glue, and a couple of wires. The first thing I did was connect the Walksnail VTX to a separate power source, a different battery from the one powering the car, and run a few tests to see how the video looked with the module mounted inside the car and also from the outside. That way I could compare both perspectives and get a better idea of what the driving experience would actually look like in FPV. From inside the car you get that realistic driver's point of view, but mounting it outside can sometimes give you a clearer image and a wider view of the terrain. So I spent some time testing both options, just to see which one would work best before installing everything permanently. Even though the view was much better with the camera mounted outside, the Walksnail VTX isn't waterproof. So I decided to mount it inside the car. But after doing that and running a few tests, another problem showed up. Of course, finding the right spot for it inside the car wasn't exactly straightforward. It required some hot glue and removing a few interior pieces, like the tiny rear view mirror, just to make room for the VTX. But the biggest problem showed up after I left the VTX running in that enclosed space. Even though outside it was around -1 degree, the VTX actually started to overheat.
Oh no, it's overheating.
So I had to come up with a solution. After thinking about it and weighing my options, which to be honest weren't that many, I realized I basically had two choices. Either install a small cooling fan, which I didn't have and would have been pretty hard to mount on top of the VTX, or go with a slightly less engineering grade solution. So I decided to leave two of the car doors slightly open, just a few millimeters, enough to let a bit of cold air from outside flow inside. I kept the doors in place with a bit of tape and a small piece of cardboard wedged between the door and the body. And surprisingly, it actually worked. This simple trick allowed me to run the VTX for about 10 minutes before it started overheating. And since driving the car like this was ridiculously fun, I ended up repeating the whole process several times. Drive around for a while, stop, wait for it to cool down, and then start all over again. Once everything was sorted out, I put the car back together and charged both batteries, one for the car and one for the VTX. The main battery went under the front hood, while the VTX battery sat on the rear seat. I checked the suspension, inflated the tires, and got ready for a challenging drive through the snow. And with everything ready, it was finally time to take it out into the snow.
Ce ai făcut, Bobiță?
Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. And who knows, maybe next time I'll add head tracking, a steering wheel, pedals, maybe even a full simulator cockpit setup. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. See you in the next one.